All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to what I believe is the eighth episode of the True Talks podcast. Again, before we start, all of the gameplay you see on the screen is my own that I recorded, but it also has nothing to do with what I'm talking about today. So if you choose not to watch, you will still be able to understand what I'm talking about if you just listen. And also to remind you, I always forget something. The age rating of this show is going to hover around an upper PG to lower PG 13-ish rating. Again, you may think it's lame that I give that disclaimer, but I am a teacher, so I feel like I've gotta. So, today, speaking of teaching, I'm going to be talking about my nerves relating to starting teaching. My first day is tomorrow. I'll be talking about Super Mario Wonder, the Viva Pinata speedrunning scene it's been bussin' lately. I don't know. Oh, shoot. I was going to do score predictions for week 1 of football. I guess I'm going to be doing those on the spot. That'll probably be like the NFC North predictions where it'll take forever because I'm figuring it out as we go. And my final topic of the day will be it's ironic because I do this as well, but how I think movie reviewing has gotten a little bit out of hand lately. More on that when we get there. You watch the whole episode to find out what I mean. Current event stuff. Today, tomorrow is my first day of teaching. It is currently Labor Day when I'm recording this, so that dates the episode. But you all know already about how how early these have been recorded in advance. So tomorrow is my first day of teaching ever, and it's super weird to, I don't know, it's just a really weird experience because, I feel ready, but I don't feel like it hasn't fully hit me yet, and sometimes it does, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm teaching, legitimately teaching my own class in, a week, and now it's tomorrow. So I am a little nervous, but nerves come with anything, as I've always said. It's actually a good thing to be nervous and anxious about stuff because it shows that you care. If you weren't nervous, it would mean you likely were apathetic towards whatever's going on, whether it be performing or teaching or public speaking, any of that stuff. You wouldn't get nervous if you didn't care about it. So it's usually a good thing that you're anxious and nervous for an event that's coming up because it means you care about it and you want it to go well. This is just me basically trying to convince myself of this fact. But I'm sure it'll be fine. There's a couple of unknown things right now. Kids keep getting added and dropped from my class every single day. I went through 3 different, because it's band. I teach band, for those of you who don't know. Because it's band, it's not like core classes where everyone's kind of selected and you know pretty much who's going to be in your class is fully guaranteed, probably even a month out in some schools, with some flexibility for kids to be shifted around who shouldn't be with each other and whatnot. But with band, it's I could have a kid show up second week of school. I don't know if they'd actually do this or not, but I could have a kid show up second week of school and be like, hey, I just joined your class. I talked to the counselor and they let me in. What do I do? It's oh my god. But I've been trying to be completely prepared and put together for the first day, but I've just determined it's not going to happen. Mentally I am prepared, but physically, all of the way it works is all the kids have a cubby to put their instruments in, and I made a folder slot cabinet thing. That's new this year. They didn't have one last year. They just kept their music with their instruments, but I have a folder slot cabinet now. So I made a folder slot chart and a cubby chart, what cubby belongs with what person and what instrument. So I've made 3 different iterations of it, because kids just keep getting added and dropped from the class. Like, kids just keep either joining or dropping, and it's like, I've just given up at this point. Whoever shows up on the first day, we're gonna get them a slot then, and it's gonna be kind of chaotic, which I don't like chaos. I prefer order, but I'm sure we'll get through it, and by the end of the first week, I should have all of that figured out. It's mainly those logistical things that I'm nervous for. Once we get settled into a routine, like, I have my music planned for the year. I actually have my music planned for the next 5 years. I know pretty much how every concert is going to look, barring, like, some soloists. I wrote by some of the pieces that I have planned, like trumpet solo, and if there isn't a strong trumpet player, obviously I'm not going to have them play that piece. But, like, I've pretty much got everything planned out in advance on that front, and all of that is just logistical stuff that will be taken care of by the end of this week that I'm nervous for, mainly. And I just hate talking for long periods of time. Like, may sound weird as like a podcast sort of thing, but like giving directions and going over handbooks and stuff like that is not my strong suit. And I've been like rehearsing it the past few days, like rehearsing everything that I need to cover and talking about everything that I need to say to make sure everything gets covered for like handbook / syllabus stuff the first day. And like, it may be weird, like, saying that, being that I record a podcast, but I just do not like talking for really long periods of time in front of people, just because, not necessarily because I hate public speaking. I don't mind it when it's, like, something that's planned, but it's like the time thing. I want to keep them engaged, and I know I wouldn't want to go to band class and listen to some guy talk for 30 minutes or something like that. So it's like, I'm very conscious of the time that I'm spending talking. So, I don't know. I guess I'm nervous, but also it's a bit of nervous excitement. Like, I know the first day might end up being a disaster because of how many unknowns there are and how many things I have to figure out, like the cubby chart, the folder chart, all of that. And kids who might not have instruments randomly or something. Like, there are kids that moved here, I think, this year. I can tell because they don't have, like, when I look them up in my grade book or whatever, they don't have a picture. So I'm guessing they, like, moved this year because they also joined late. Like, they're kids that joined, like, a few days ago, and they don't have, like, a picture or any, like, an official school picture or anything like that. So I'm guessing they're, like, new. So it's like, if they don't have an instrument, I don't know what the heck I'm going to tell them. But it'll be fine. It'll be fun. I have pieces picked out to, like, sight read and keep them occupied for the first week. It should be an entertaining time. But it's just so weird being, like, completely in control of everything. That's the weirdest part of it. Like, I've just been kind of taking everything in stride. Like, I have been going to the school, like, pretty much every day for the past few weeks. I said this a little bit on the last episode, I know, but, like, inventorying instruments and checking music and moving around like, setting up all the chairs, like, all of that stuff. And I've just been taking it in stride, and for a while, there was a moment where I was, like, sitting there testing out all the French horns, and I was like, holy shit, I'm in charge of all this. This is my, like, stuff. And it's just so weird because it's not really anything I can prepare for. Like, obviously there's student teaching, so the teaching aspect I have down, well, like, I've practiced it, is what I mean. I don't have it down, but I've practiced the teaching aspect. But there was always an authoritative figure in the room behind me on top of, like, me teaching. So, and someone to tell me, like, oh, I would have done this instead, or this didn't work because I noticed this happened. And I don't have that. I'm on my own now, which is super weird and a little nerve-wracking. That's also an aspect that has me nervous, but I firmly believe that at least for the first few weeks, the most important thing is feigning confidence, because I think if you put yourself out there, and this goes for like anything, if you put yourself out there as a confident person, even if you aren't confident going into it, I think you'll give yourself confidence. Like, you'll fake it till you believe it, actually, in reality, because I think you'll like, when you're going into something new like this, it's like, if you go in with confidence, people will more believe, or, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think you know what I'm trying to get at. But that's enough about that. I'm excited. I'll probably say how it goes in the next podcast, the first week of school. Obviously, I can't give specific details because of confidentiality stuff, but if stuff goes wrong, stuff goes right, I'll at least let you know vague details. But topic A, moving into that, Super Mario Bros. Wonder got a direct, which, now that I don't use Twitter, it always surprises me when there's a direct, like the Pokemon Direct, in August, I think it would have been early August. That surprised me. I had no idea it was coming until after it had already happened. I got, like, a notification for it being live, and I was like, whoa, what? And the same thing kind of happened with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but I saw it like 2 days ahead of time as like a scheduled live stream or whatever on my YouTube homepage, or feed, or whatever you want to call it. And the game looks really fun. I really like 2D platformers, but I only really like them when they're done well. Like, done with... like, purpose is the word that comes to mind, and I think you probably know what I mean by that. But, like, something like Donkey Kong Country, where every level feels very, like, it doesn't feel like there's any filler in there. It's like every level was intentionally put there to use a certain mechanic or challenge you in a certain way. And other games feel that way too, like Super Mario World. I don't have a lot of experience with Super Mario World. I've only beaten the first 2 worlds in it. Maybe I should beat it someday. But that, and Super Mario 3 as well, Super Mario Bros. 3, I still think is, like, probably maybe even the best game on the NES, because it's just so massive and so well put together. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks like it's taking out of that book. And I will say the original New Super Mario Bros. Did have some inspiration, but it was not, like, challenging or difficult. I will say that I do enjoy them for what they are. The New Super Mario Bros. Games, I enjoy them for what they are, but I can definitely see why people get burnt out on them. Especially when the bosses are just so incredibly lackluster and uninspired. I'm excited to see where they go with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It looks actually insane, and it looks like it. I don't know. It's hard to gauge challenge level from watching a trailer, because maybe they're trying to make it look more challenging than it actually is, or maybe sometimes people are just bad. But it looks to be a little more like a little higher on the challenge level than your average New Super Mario Bros. Game to me, but it's hard to tell until you pick up the controller and actually play it. I really like the art style. I really like all the unique ideas. It just feels like such a breath of fresh air. It almost feels like a breath of fresh air for Nintendo, because I will admit that I mentioned this in one of the earliest episodes. It feels like we're in kind of a rut in gaming right now, where a lot of games just feel completely uninspired and bland. I'll say Tears of the Kingdom is pretty inspired, although it takes place in the same world as Breath of the Wild. And Pikmin 4 was also relatively inspired, but it just felt like they were pumping out game after game after game with no real glimmer about it. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks like a return to form, especially for Mario. Like, it's like the 2D Mario games have been bland for a while and just so incredibly formulaic. Like, to the point where it's like every world is, like, it's mapped out the same. It's like, World 1 is your grassland, World 2 is your desert, World 3 is ice, World 4 is water, World 5 is forest, World 6, and so on and so forth. Maybe I didn't get all those right, but they always use the same exact level themes, and in most cases, basically the same order, just because they took what worked in Super Mario Bros. 3 and replicated it, which worked for the original New Super Mario Bros., and then they did it 3 more times. But, and that has its place, but, like, you have something like Donkey Kong Country 2, which is one of, well, probably the best 2D platformer of all time, but I am not thinking too hard about it right now, so don't quote me on that. It's got levels like the theme park with random, like, honey hive bee levels. It has the swamp, Kremke. It has pirate ship. The entire first world is pirate ship themed. You have the lava world as world 2, which normally that's typically like your last world. And last world is like you're climbing a fortress, basically, which is super cool. It's like if you took all of the vertical, kind of mid-castles in New Super Mario Bros. And put them all in one world, basically. I don't know why I'm explaining this as in-depth as I am, but it's just, it feels so fresh to play a game like that, where, like, it has a unique level world themes, especially like the haunted world. And even like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it's like they chose to use ice as the final world's theme, which is not something you usually see, and then they decided to combine like lava with ice. I could go on and on about Donkey Kong Country forever. I really hope they make another one on the Switch. It's been rumored for so long. I really hope we get a new one soon. I feel like there's Retro Studios is too busy with Metroid Prime 4 to worry about that right now, though. We'll see. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I'm actually really excited for it. It's going to be a spectacular game. I can already tell. And I think it's competing with Spider-Man 2. I think it's releasing on the same day. If I could be mistaken, but I think it is. And I think it's releasing a week away from Sonic Superstars or whatever it is. Not that that's direct competition or anything, but I mean, it kind of is. It's the same genre of game, but it's not like it's releasing on like a different console or something. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really fun game. I can already tell. I don't know. I did watch the Direct, but it was a while ago. I don't remember if they said how many worlds there were. Like, if it's still the 8-world formula, or if they're going down to 6. I prefer the 6 worlds myself, because it it's way better to me to have less levels, but more inspired and full of, like, secrets. That's why Sonic games are so good. Like, Sonic Mania has, like, what? I think 12 levels with 2 acts each. So 24 levels, but it feels way more inspired, and there's more stuff to like find and do. Like, you can actually explore the levels and find secrets in them, whereas New Super Mario Bros., it was like, alright, find your 3 star coins that are mostly hidden in plain sight. It seems like this is going to be way more inspired and fun, and I'm super excited. Next topic, I decided to go with more of a video game theme this episode, mainly because I've been talking about board games for a while. Normally I try to vary it a little bit, but I've been talking about board games for the past, like, few episodes, so I decided to throw in a couple video game topics. Viva Pinata speedrunning. I actually, as of right now, I just got my world record back in the garden percent category. I had it for 2 years. Someone beat it a month ago, and I just took it back. But it's been actually a pretty fun community. Like, if you have this game or you're nostalgic for it, I would heavily recommend getting invested with the people in the Discord. You can find us on, if you go to Viva Pinata, the speedrun.com like sub-site for Viva Pinata. You know what I mean. But it's a cool, like, community. It's small, So it's like everyone kind of knows each other, but we like some people have been finding some interesting techs in the game now, which is crazy because the first time I speedran this game, I think was like 5 or 6 years ago. I think five. I think it was 5 years ago. Back when I was still basically a child. It's so weird that 5 years ago is like I was 23 or I was 18. But yeah, it was. Sorry, I got distracted. There were people talking next door. But um, it's been crazy how many like just skips have been found, like how to skip certain cutscenes that we never thought would be possible. It allowed me to get my level 10 run time down to under a half an hour. So again, more reason to try it out. It's a short run. Even your first time, I would guess you could get under 45 minutes if you know the strats. Under 40 probably. Like I pretty effortlessly right now could get a 35 even if I mess like everything up. But yeah, it's a fun speedrun. It's a lot of memorization. That's why I really like it. I haven't really talked too much about why I specifically like speedrunning Viva Pinata as much as I do. For one, it's because I'm actually competitive in the leaderboard. Like, obviously, that's a little bit more enticing to me than... I did my one speedrun of Sonic Mania, and I'm, like, somewhere around the middle. I think I'm in, like, the bottom, like, 2/3 of the way through the leaderboard-ish or something. But it's like, I could never hope to compete for a top time there, so it's like, I got my run, I'm good there. Same with Pikmin 1. I do want to get a better time in Pikmin 1, though. That might come soon when I get my hands on the Switch version. But what makes Viva Pinata so fun is just how much internal, like, game knowledge you have to retain. Like, in order to get this world record that I just got, I had to back a couple things up, and I had to think of what I needed to feed each of the pinatas on the spot. Like, it makes it so that during the periods of time when I'm, like, really trying to go fast, or, like, I notice I'm getting close to the world record, or, like, I'm getting close to passing over my chance, I get, like, super quiet, but that's because I have, like, a million things running through my head at once, like, buy 7 of the Goobas, feed 1 the Bluebell, sell them all, buy the Pinocchis, feed 1 the Bluebell seed, so on and so forth. Oh, you have a Taffly that hasn't been converted yet, fly it into the fire, change it into a Red Hot, like, stuff like that. Like, you constantly have to be aware of so much, and it requires a good amount of game knowledge, and I really, really enjoy it a lot. Like, it's a simulation game, so it's like, it's not meant to be played fast, but just the amount that you can do, like, it just feels like I need to know a lot about the game in order to play fast, which is what makes it feel really rewarding, like the amount that I've memorized from the game. Funnily enough, I think I said this in the tutorial video that I made, or maybe, but when my sister and I were kids, we actually used to play school, and we used to make tests for each other, and we would make tests from Viva Pinata. Like, I would write, like, true or false, the sour maca raccoon needs to eat Cluckles to become a resident, or something like that. Or which one of these 4 options makes the worm change color, or something like that. My sister and I used to quiz each other all the time, and I still have some of those quizzes, actually. When I was sorting through my stuff in my room when I moved, I found some of those old quizzes that we gave each other, and it's a bit of history. Like, that was probably around, like, 2008, 2010, maybe, that we did that. It was before we moved, I know that, and we moved in 2012, so, because I specifically remember doing it in, like, a specific room of our old house. But yeah, nostalgic. But okay, that's about enough about Viva Pinata. I probably should do these score predictions, considering it's going to take me a while, since it's going to be since it's going to be all improv. Okay. Let's get it pulled up here. I'm not really going to keep track of this. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep track of this because I'm still debating if I actually do want to or not. I think I'm good not keeping track of this. Like, handwriting it myself, I mean. It'll be interesting to see, because by the time this video comes out as well, week 1 will have already happened. Like, it'll be like a month past by then. But, first game, Lions-Chiefs. I don't know why people are so overhyping the Lions. They made improvements, yes, but they weren't even a playoff team last year. Yeah, they almost like snuck in. They were 1 game away from getting in the playoffs, but they didn't. So I don't know why everyone is so overhyping the Lions. And maybe when this video comes out, you can all laugh at me because the Lions will have like a perfect record or something. But I don't understand why everyone's hyping them up to be some offensive giant. Like they're going to be like the team to beat in the NFC this year. Like, I don't get it. Because their defense did not... There's no way you can tell me their defense got that much better when they were in last place. I could say maybe I don't know enough because I'm not invested in the Lions. Like, you could say the same thing about the Vikings, and people do say that the defense didn't improve enough, but we got like a new defensive coordinator and multiple new key players, and I've been paying attention to how the rookies have been playing and the second years, and it looks promising. I didn't do that for the Lions, obviously, because I couldn't care less. So maybe they have some promising talent incoming for this year that was not there last year. But the Lions and the Chiefs, at the Chiefs, I am going to say it is going to be 21-35 in the Chiefs' favor. The Chiefs are scoring 35 points on the Lions. And I don't think the Chiefs' defense is that good. Like, they're probably middle to upper middle of the road. Like, if we're talking tier list levels, like probably like B tier, maybe upper B tier. I think the Lions do have the potential to score a lot of points on them, but there's no way they're... Like, it's not like a scoring every drive sort of game. I think it's going to be 35-21. Chiefs win. Bengals and Browns. At the Browns. This is an interesting one because, for one, it's at the Browns. For two, Deshaun Watson is actually playing. I know he did for the back half of the last season, and he looked pretty bad. I mean, I never saw a game, but I looked at the stats, and they looked pretty bad. I sound like one of those idiots who just talks out their ass on Facebook. But I only looked at the stats. I didn't actually watch him play. I didn't have the opportunity to watch him play because none of the games were televised here. I think the Bengals take this one easily. I think it's like 28-14 we're talking. Bengals win. Texans Ravens, oh my god. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. I think 42 Ravens, 7 Texans. I think that's going to be a disaster. What a game to throw. I think it's CJ Stroud. What a game to throw him in for his first official NFL game. Buccaneers, Vikings. Same sort of deal, especially since it's at the Vikings. Baker Mayfield's not going to do much, I don't think. I'm going to say... Let's throw in a field goal in there. 31-14. Vikings win. I don't know. 28 sounded too low and 35 sounded too high. So we're going 31-14. Panthers, Falcons. That's an interesting one because both of them are really unknown teams. Like, unknown as in we don't know how good they're really going to be this year. Because they For one, the Panthers have a rookie quarterback, and for two, the Falcons have that rookie running back who might run all over them, have like 150 yards or something like that. I think the Falcons win 21-14. Cardinals at the Commanders. I think the Cardinals are going to be trash this year. Most people agree. It definitely seems like they're already almost committing to tanking. I think the Cardinals definitely lose this game. It's just a matter of by how much. I'm going to say the Cardinals score 14 and the Commanders score 21. I couldn't even tell you who the Commanders quarterback is right now because it's switched so much the last few years. I have no idea who it even is. So that unknown factor makes it so that it really could go either way, I think. But because the Commanders are at home, we're going to say that's how it's going to be. Jaguars, Colts. The Jaguars take that one pretty handily, I think. I'm going to say 28-14. The Colts score 14. From, again, I didn't get the chance to see any of the Colts games in the preseason, but from the stat sheet, Anthony Richardson didn't look very good. Maybe it might take him a while to get, like, acclimated, but at the same time, it's, yeah, week one. So I think the Jaguars, for one, take that really they take it pretty handily. That's all I'm going to say about that. 49ers, Steelers. Steelers 14. Steelers 10. 49ers 21. The 49ers have a bit of a question mark at quarterback. But obviously Brock Purdy's proved himself in practice. Otherwise he wouldn't be the starter and they wouldn't have gotten rid of Trey Lance. So I think, well, for one, their defense is really extremely good. And they have a lot of offensive weapons. They're going to be the team to beat in the NFC this year, I think. Them and the Eagles, I think, are going to be the two top teams. Titans, Saints. That's an interesting one. Ryan Tannehill is the definition of mid. I don't know if Derrick Henry has been going downhill yet. Again, Titans games are rarely televised here, obviously, because it's been a while since anyone in our division, being the NFC North, has played the Titans, so I haven't really gotten to see any games to really see, but I haven't heard much about Derrick Henry as of late. Like, I know he's still top 10, but I don't know if he's as dominant as he once was. I think the Saints take that one, but I think it's going to be close. Like, we're talking like 21-14. I don't think it'll be a very high-scoring game. Raiders and Broncos. Sorry for the silence between every game. I have to scroll and find where I'm at. Raiders and Broncos. I think the Broncos take that one. The Raiders are going to be really young this year. They might win a few games and get heated later in the season, but I think it's going to take a bit for them to gel. And I think the fact that the Broncos have a better head coach this year, and maybe Russell Wilson won't be dog shit. We'll see what happens. But Broncos, I'm going to give it the same score as I gave the last one. Not out of laziness, but that just feels right. 21-14. Broncos win that game. Eagles at Patriots. I almost had a coughing explosion there. Eagles at Patriots. Eagles 35, Patriots 14. The Patriots, once again, I don't think are going to be that spectacular. They're going to be pretty lackluster this year, I think. Not bad, just mid. That's like the I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed sort of thing. Not bad, just mid. And the Eagles they didn't lose anything this offseason. Well, they don't have Miles Sanders anymore, but I don't think that's going to make that big of a difference. I don't think they were really using him that much anyways, being that their quarterback is a running powerhouse. Rams, Seahawks. It'll be interesting because the Rams never really got it together last year after Matt Stafford went down. I don't remember what he was injured with, but I know he was gone for a lot of the season. And that was probably one of the more beat-up teams in the league. I think the Seahawks will be better this year, though. Probably, like we're talking like a 14-28 game. Like 28-14, the Seahawks win. I don't know. The Rams were bad last year, and they didn't do anything to tell me that they won't be bad again this year. It might be different just because I think they were one of the more injured teams last year, but nah. Dolphins Chargers, that'll be a really good game. That's probably one of the best games week 1. It might be the best week 1 game, actually. Too bad it's not prime time. Well, there are a couple good ones later. But Dolphins Chargers is going to be really close. I think the Dolphins are probably the better team. I think it's going to be a close one. Like, I'll put a field goal in for them as well. I think it's going to be like 24 to 14. The Dolphins win. Next, Packers Bears. The Bears are playing at home, so I think they win. The Packers, for one, are always abysmal week 1. It's just been tradition for the last couple of years. Maybe it was Rodgers' tradition, I don't know. He never really looked like himself week 1. But Bears, the Packers at the Bears. The Bears win that one 21-10. I don't think the Packers are going to score very many points in that game. We'll see. Cowboys Giants, that'll be a good one. This one could go either way. I underestimated the Giants last year. I really do think the Vikings should have won the playoff. Not like arguing against like any sort of stuff like ref stuff that happened during the game, but the Vikings should have been the better team in the playoffs last year, and they lost to them. But that doesn't mean they're not a good team. Like, they're probably like, I would say, like bottom of A tier. And Cowboys sit about at that same range. Maybe a little bit higher. But it's at the Giants in it's being played at the Giants. So I don't know why I felt the need to say that twice. I think the Giants take it, but it's going to be a close game. 28-21. Bills and Jets will be really interesting to watch because it's Aaron Rodgers' first game as a Jet officially. They played in the preseason, but and the Bills are almost, well, the Bills and the Chargers both are almost like the Vikings of the AFC, where their offense is extremely good and their defense always kind of disappoints. And just teams that really should be able to do it and win games, but just don't for some reason sometimes. I think the Jets take this one, especially since it's at home. But I think it'll be close again. I think it'll be pretty high scoring too. I'm going to give it a 31 to 24. 31 to 24, Jets win the Monday Night Football game. And that is the last of the score predictions. I probably won't do any more score predictions until maybe like playoff time, just because it feels weird to be like, what, like 8 or 7, 6 weeks off or something like that. I don't know exactly how it'll work out, but that's why I'm probably not going to do it again. Like, it's not going to be a weekly or regular occurrence, because yeah, it'll be weird to have it like offset by that much. I just think it's interesting for week 1 to get my predictions out there and then kind of be able to look back and gauge where they're at. It'll be interesting, and then have everyone roasting me in the comments because I got like 1 right or something. I don't really care that much about the scores, although I will say I got so hyped last year. The first game of the season, I predicted the exact score of the game, and then I continued like that momentum and like did record predictions and score predictions every week until about week 10, because then I kind of petered out. But anyways, last topic of the day. This is going to be a shorter one, but I think I mentioned this in the last one. I think I'm generally okay with these being shorter than an hour and a half, as long as the content covered is of value. Like, I would just want to cover 3 topics, have maybe a special segment in the middle, have a current event. And as long as I cover all my bases, I don't feel the need to ramble any longer than I have to. Like, I'm not going to talk about movie reviewing for 50 minutes, because that's what the clock says I have to do. Some will be longer, some will be shorter. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Because some weeks I'm just not going to have that much to talk about, obviously. But I want to be able to keep consistently doing... I would rather do it every week than to, like, skip a week because I had nothing going on, or, like, nothing to talk about, really. And then, yeah, I'd rather have shorter episodes than that. But movie reviewing, I think personally that it's gotten way out of hand and people blow it way out of proportion. People who should not be reviewing movies are taking them way too seriously. Like, it's kind of the YouTube thing. Like, I do it too. So again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I realize it's totally ironic because I review movies and I really have no business or credentials doing it. But I mainly use it as a way to share my thoughts. There are people who legitimately take their, quote, job seriously, like posting their reviews on YouTube and whatnot. And even, like, movie sites like Rotten Tomatoes, the user scores on there, and IMDb. Does Metacritic do movies? I don't know. I think that's just video games. I think I'm dumb. But I think, for one, too much stock is put in reviews now. Like, it's like, if a good movie comes out and it's reviewed well, it obviously is going to come out with, like, another accolades trailer showing off all of its high reviews and whatnot, and then it's just crickets if it doesn't, if it blows up in the reviews. But I just think people take movies way too seriously now. I realize there's a lot of them, so people look at reviews as a way to avoid wasting their time. Because it's like there are people who are avid moviegoers who don't want to go to a movie if it's going to waste their time, and they could spend that time watching a better movie. Like, obviously I get that. But at the same time, I just think there's so many people who share their shitty opinions online that should not be taken as seriously as they are. Like, people who complain about the wokeness in movies, like that sort of thing. It's dumb. And, like, people who just take movies way too seriously, like, comedies, for one, are something that will never be reviewed well. There's almost like there are comedies that are reviewed well. Obviously, there are some anomalies, but in general, comedies aren't reviewed well because they don't generally have that good of like a story necessarily or anything. But sometimes I just want a movie to have fun and relax and turn something on maybe in the background. Like, people forget that there are other reasons to watch movies other than to analyze the plot like it's some Shakespearean thing. Like, like I said, I understand why people do it, but I feel like people use, well, reviewing in general, they always tell you this, but you will not get a lot of, like, if you're talking out of 5 stars, you are not going to get a lot of, like, the 2 to 4 range. It's more going to be 1s and 5s. People who loved their experience and feel the need to share it online, and people who hated it and want to share it with everyone else, and to gossip and complain, because that's what people love to do. People love to spread negativity. It's easier to do than spread positivity, I'll tell you that much. But I don't know, I just feel like movie reviewing has become so toxic. It's like, you'll go online, even like you just post like on twitter.com, I like Frozen 2. People will be like, what? That movie offended me deeply. It ruined everyone's characters. Everything they did was out of character. And it's like, I don't give a shit. It's in the canon, whether you like it or not. You're not going to sign a petition to take it out of the canon. Same with Last Jedi. That's another one where if you say you like it online, you will have your comments exploded by people who despise it, because that's what people like to do, apparently. That's what people spend their time doing, is roasting people who like movies they don't like. I don't know. People like movies for different reasons. There are people who like to be critical and like an extremely good and well thought out story, and then there are those of us who just like to, not necessarily, like, saying go into the theater and shut your brain off makes it feel like, it feels like an insult. But I think you know what I mean. Like, it's like you go watch a movie and you just are there to be entertained, and honestly, you're not going to pay that much attention to nitty-gritty plot details and like, it feels like some people specifically look for plot holes in movies and look for problems in movies. I was that way for a while. Like, I don't know. There was a time period where I was super critical of stuff that I watched, and I really didn't like it. There's some movies that are highly reviewed that I don't like. One of them, specifically, that I can think of off the top of my head right now, is Dunkirk. I went to that movie in the theater, and I don't remember anything of it besides the fact that I was bored the entire time. Maybe it's because I was, like, 16 and I didn't really get it at that time. Maybe I need to watch it again. But Dunkirk is regarded as, like, a top 3 Christopher Nolan movie, and I don't like it. At least I didn't like it. But I think you can see the point that I'm trying to make. It's just people put too much stock in reviews, and review culture has just become toxic, where it's just mainly a lot of people spreading negativity rather than honestly reviewing a movie. Like, it's weird because I know people, there are a good number of YouTubers that I watch, like, in the board gaming world, who do board game reviews, and they'll say, like, specifically, they play so many board games, it's likely they are not going to review a board game if it's less than a 7 out of 10 on their scale. Because if they like a game less than, like, a 7-ish, then they play so many games they have no reason to play it a second or third time because they just don't like it. Like, I feel like people don't, like, obviously board gaming is a bit more of a time commitment, like, set up and tear down, and you have to, like, but movies as well, it's like, people will post their immediate reaction to The Batman and call it an official review and never watch it again. I don't know. I feel like specifically movie critics, video game critics kind of, but not to the extent that I see movies. I don't see nearly as many people complain about video games as I do with movies, because again, it's the time commitment thing. There are people who review games in a poor manner, like the famous Video Game Donkeys Xenoblade Chronicles 2 review, where he basically talked out his ass the entire time because he had only played like 20 hours of a 100-hour game. But or the guy who I saw videos on Twitter all over the place when Metroid Dread came out, and this one guy was like complaining the entire time about it being like unfair because you couldn't find where you were supposed to go, and it was like obvious where you were supposed to shoot in the room that he was looking for or something. Like, I don't remember specifics, but yeah, movie culture I think is a lot worse than any other medium, just because you have so many people who will watch a movie once and just talk crap about it because it's like people are looking for issues with movies. You don't see people do that with games. Like, it's like people almost watch movies to try to find issues rather than looking for the positives in them. And I don't know, it just feels really toxic to me. Especially people who put down others for their movie opinions, because they follow people, like the people who shit on The Last Jedi probably only follow people who complain about it. Like, just a hunch, they probably only follow people who complain about The Last Jedi, so all they're doing is re-spewing the garbage that someone else put out. Not saying their opinion isn't valid, but it just feels so incredibly negative and, I don't know, just not worth the energy to be spewing that much negativity just because one person likes a movie that you didn't like. Like, saying someone's not a Star Wars fan because they like The Last Jedi. Saying someone isn't a, I don't know, Frozen fan because they like Frozen 2. Those are some specific examples I can think of like, really bad fan base. Well, again, I liked Love and Thunder, and people were, like, saying if you like this movie, you're, like, an idiot or something. I don't know. And it's like, people have different tastes, and people don't take that into account. Movies, people just get incredibly defensive over their opinions over, I've noticed. Me included. But normally mine are good ones. I don't think... Like, other than, like, Dunkirk, I can't think of a time when I've gone out of a movie and thought I wasted my time. Like, there haven't been that many movies that I didn't like. I wasn't a big fan of Ant-Man Quantumania, but it's like... That's probably like a 6 at worst, like a 6 or a 5 or something. Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 2, I hate that movie. But... Again, I don't know. This is mainly me just trying to explain why I think the whole movie reviewing thing is toxic. And I haven't even gotten into the whole concept of review bombing. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it pisses me off to no end when someone will review bomb a movie. Like, someone will call on the internet masses to review bomb a movie because they didn't like it. Like, it happened with The Last Jedi. I think people tried to do it with Barbie. I think there was a good amount of people who tried to review bomb Barbie. Trying to think of others. There's a moment I thought my car alarm was going off outside, but it's not mine. Yeah, I can't think of any other, like, specific... Captain Marvel, that's one that people review bombed because it has a woman lead. And people will always try to shadow their sexism there. That's a whole nother topic of discussion. Like, it's like, it's not because she's a woman, it's just because of the actress. Because she's a feminazi, or whatever people will say. That's a whole different topic of discussion that I will probably not talk about because it's borderline political. I wouldn't say that it is specifically, just because I don't know. I think when you're talking about being a decent human being to others, it shouldn't be a politicized thing. But I don't know. Yeah, you don't see many people who review bomb games. I don't know that I can think of any video game that I've at least seen people like be like, you gotta, well, The Last of Us 2. That's one that I can think of that people hated when it came out. That's one specific really that was about the equivalent of a toxic reaction to a movie, was the whole reaction to The Last of Us 2. I haven't even played The Last of Us, but I saw it all over the place. And there was one person I watch on YouTube who positively reviewed it, and they got death threats because of it. So that just goes to show you how far people will go to try to, I don't know, show you that their opinion is right somehow, threatening death on you. I don't know what that's supposed to accomplish. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, to summarize, without going on another tangent again, I feel like movie reviewing has become, well, reviewing in general, somewhat. Video games, not. Movies are the worst of it. Video games, sometimes, but not nearly as much as movies. It just feels like it's become a culture where people would rather complain about, like, people just want to go online and complain about stuff they didn't like, where reviewing has become finding the flaws in something rather than analyzing it on a critical level. It feels like people who, like, I know there are, quote, professional critics, but, like, we're talking YouTube couch critics, like me, who it feels like they legitimately go to a movie to be disappointed. Like, they look for disappointments in a movie, and they look for plot holes. They search and scour the movie for flaws, and it's like, you must, like, it just sucks the enjoyment out of it. Like, when you're trying to specifically look for flaws, and you can say, well, let me put on my Actually glasses. Well, I forgot what I was gonna say. I got distracted. Actually, hold on, I have to remember. Shoot. I don't even remember the point I was trying to make anymore. God damn it. Why is my memory so bad? This is gonna forever bother me, but I don't want to sit here in silence and make you suffer. Like, people might argue that... God, frickin' A, it's so annoying. I hate it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know exactly what I wanted to say. The last, like, 4 minutes of this video is gonna be me trying to remember the point I was trying to make. People might say that they can't enjoy a movie without, like, being critical. Like, if a movie inherently has flaws, they're going to notice. And, oh, I remember what I was gonna say. Like, they'll be like, well, we just notice things that the average eye can't catch. Like, people who go to movies and don't notice these flaws are just don't pay as much attention to as us, and that makes them less of a person. Maybe not that far, but that's basically how it feels sometimes. Like, they'll be like condescending about it and be like, I just see things that you don't. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry you don't enjoy movies. Like, honestly. But I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I accidentally peaked my mic on that desk slam. I need to calm down. But thank you all for watching. This has been True Talks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, a wonderful upcoming week, and that, I don't know, you find some positivity today. Goodbye.
Don't ever give up, my son.
Father?
Follow me, Fox. This way, Fox. Never give up. Trust your instincts. Follow me, Fox. This way, Fox. Never give up. Trust your instincts. You've become so strong, Fox.